Hello again, nice to see you back. My name is Apollo, Icarus, Androgynous, and today we're going to be patterning and making the yellow sleeves from Crimson Peak, Edith's yellow dress. There's patterning, there's silk, there's embroidery, there's ribbon embroidery, there's dyeing the silk. You guys are gonna, I hope, really like it. This video is quite chill, not as upbeat as some of my previous videos, but I'm sure you'll enjoy that just as much, one hopes. So let's start. For my base of the sleeve, I will be starting off with Ageless Patterns, number 1502, but I do plan on altering this sleeve pattern. The bottom of Edith's sleeve has buttons and buttonholes running up until the elbow, but you know, sometimes it's just nice to have a little mock-up idea. Making the mock-up is essential, both because I want to see how the sleeve will look, but also I need to draw on where the embroidery will go. I need some form of basis. Heat erasable pens are your friend with this sort of project. Because I knew I was not going to be able to be exact while drawing onto the mannequin, I just did a scribble and a scrawl. Because, like you can see now, I can rip the entire thing apart quite forcefully. It got out some good anger management. I can use a different colour pen to refine my drawing, change the placement a wee bit, and in all just have a good time having a bit of a doodle. Finally, Sharpie. Sharpie gives me the exact positioning of where the flowers will go. This mock-up pattern is now my baseline for everything else I make. Once the drawing is done, I can start on the ribbon embroidery section. Using a black pen, I can trace over my little scribbles earlier, put it in a hoop, and then I can start using some silk thread to embroider. I'm using a proper ribbon embroidery needle, which has a sharp point but a fat bottom. Sorry, but obviously you can just use a basic tapestry needle. I want the ribbon to lie flat but with a little bit of texture. This is silk ribbon, it's very small, I'm pretty sure it's 5mm in width. I'm then using some cotton thread of a matching colour and just nipping down little sections which might need a bit more stabilisation. This part was really satisfying. Oh, the ribbon for the flowers. So I know that I wanted to dye the flowers with alcohol dye to give them that sort of mottled, decaying effect. And a very good way to make these flowers look a little bit more ruffled, a little bit more moth-like, a bit more decayed, is that I'm actually using recycled sari silk. This has staining, this has got breaks, this has got texture and life. And then I did the same thing that I did before with the stem, but this time I'm just doing it in big. Not going to lie, I had to do so many of these. So many, I actually lost count. It took quite a while and it was really rather repetitive. My back did not thank me. And while I started off doing this, going, yes, I love this is such a cool new technique, by the end I was like, I never want to see another flower ever again. But joke's on me, there's embroidered flowers on her belt, and I have yet to pattern the belt, so I know there's more flowers for me in the future. They're creeping up on me, singing a little evil song. Finally, we've moved on to the dyeing of the flowers. This was so much fun. Absolutely cathartic release of finally these flowers are done. I'm basically just using two different colours. I've got this sunny yellow which I paint on first to saturate the silk. Then I'm using this more brownish orange shade to create depth, to create just interest really. And the joy of alcohol and silk is that the pigment will spread. It does mean that you have to be a little bit more careful where you place the pigment, but it does the blending for you. This was so satisfying. You have no idea. Highly recommend this. 5 out of 10 on Trip Review Advisor. The sleeves, I can cut out the fabric, which is terrifying. I've put the first layer of netting down. This will stabilize the very flimsy silk. I'm then going to do a lot of basting stitches. This is to make sure that the silk doesn't move around too much. Although, spoiler alert, I messed up badly, you'll see later in the video. Then I can use a tracing wheel or a rotary tool to pick through the very basic shapes of the flowers, and then use a heat erasable marker to draw it on. And now it's just time for me to pin on all the flowers. I cut out the netting and just put a little pin in there. I have to say, I might have messed up which flowers went where and some of them in the wrong place, but you know what? I'm the only person that knows that. No one else will ever know that. Ever. Definitely not. Sacrilege. The next thing I need to do is to basically just sew the leaves slash petals, flowers, something, onto the sleeve. I'm just doing that with a bit of hand sewing. I'm leaving the stems for now, but that's next up, and I'll embroider onto the actual sleeve for that. This is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. When you have expensive fabric, you know what I'm talking about, because oh boy howdy does it make me feel anxious, so anxious. And I already have an anxiety problem, and I do this to myself. There's something so satisfying about hand sewing, especially when you're doing applique work where you're putting a little thing onto a bigger thing. There's something satisfying. But I'm afraid my folks, this also took a while, and I poked myself so much. But goddamn, it was fun. Now I'm putting some basting stitches down the vines just before I put the vine embroidery on top. Oh, a baby. The vine work is essentially the same as before, it's just a lot of it. I did get some bigger silk ribbon though, just to make my life a little bit easier, because otherwise I might have gone insane, my friends. I'm using some blue thread to create these little seeds that you can see very vaguely in the reference imagery. I'm doing some French knots, I'm doing some stalks, I'm just being a bit experimental. I want to give the impression of the pollen sticks in the middle of the flower. Oh wow, I am not a botanist, please don't yell at me if you are. Also using some lovely pearls, which I got from an antique shop because someone obviously didn't use them, so I'm going to use them. Just a few here and there to catch the candlelight. So I have to quickly talk to you guys about how I pattern the sleeves. In puff sleeves you have the undersleeve and you have the upper sleeve, but unlike sleeves like today, which are 2 pieces, you often have 3 or 4 pieces. You have the inner lining pieces and you have the outer fashion fabric. But in the case of the upper sleeve, those 2 patterns don't look similar because you want to crush all that material into the top of the shoulder seam. What I've done with this sleeve, because the original pattern that I'm basically working off didn't have buttons running down the lower arm, is I took the upper sleeve, I sewed it together along the lower arm. I sewed it together right sides together and then turned it over so the right side faced up and the right side faced down. This created a closed seam on one side of the sleeve. Then I could treat it as one flat piece, and when I sewed the upper sleeve to the undersleeve, all I had to do was make sure that I had stopped sewing at the elbow. So the upper sleeve has been done, and I altered the lower sleeve, the undersleeve, to have a small placket. This is like the little flap which will cover my skin and is the stabilization and the fabric section for the buttons to be sewn onto. For the undersleeve, I'm also attaching a lining of netting which will be gathered along with the top edge of the sleeve. This just gives the sleeve bulk. I want it to be extra puffy, because I am a poof. Also, I'm queer, I can use that word. See what I mean? When you flip it over, you have a finished edge, and as long as you clip in at the seam, you have one piece of fabric you can treat as one thing. Hello there, I'm once again Floor Gremlin. So we've had some issues with the sleeve. Let's have a look. I have basically attached the undersleeve, oh good god. I've attached the undersleeve to the fashion fabric which has been embroidered, but we've had a bit of an issue. So some point while making this, I've either made a mistake with the seam allowances because I was adding extra, or with all the embroidery it has warped a tiny bit. So I've basically had to, the fashion fabric stops there and it should go up to there. What I'm just doing is I am going to cut that bit off and sew that like it's the final sleeve, and it's quite bad on this side. Alas, there's nothing I can do about that because there's no way in hell that I am redoing that. And it should work out, but then again, it should work out. I'm gonna have positive energy and manifest it. Yes. I knew that I really wanted to do the buttonholes by hand, even though I knew I would regret it. But I find them so satisfying to look at and to do, even if I don't do them truly correctly. I'm a bit of a novice at them. They're just so enjoyable. gentlefolk, we have an issue here. In my rush to get one sleeve done and the other when I'm filming, I might have miscalculated my measurements, and there are now more buttonholes on this side than there are on this side. But luckily, they all start and stop at the same place, so hopefully no one will notice that they are of unequal button quality. Oh, Lord love a duck, really. Now, I found that the seam actually goes over one of the silk flowers, and I really don't want that. So what I've done is I've unpicked it from the sleeve and I've repinned it, and now I'm just going to sew back around the edge, therefore making it look like the embroidery was actually sewn over a finished garment rather than when it was flat packed like IKEA. Finally, I wanted to actually bind the edge of the top of the sleeve, just because I know it's going to be a little while until these sleeves actually get put into the bodice. So I'm just attaching a bit of binding tape. We have finally finished the sleeves, my friends. This took quite a long time to make, but I'm so happy with how it's actually turned out and how the ribbon embroidery looks. I was really unsure as to whether or not it would be pretty, and I think it is. Next up, we'll be patterning and making the bodice, and that's a whole new game plan. I don't know when that video will come out because I'm taking my time. This is 100% a passion project for me, but hopefully there might be new videos coming out soon for you. I really do miss making content and talking to you guys online. Real talk, I know that a few of you guys have been commenting on my videos and expecting responses, but if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've got 2 disabilities which have progressed over the last few months, and I am struggling a lot more than I ever have been with chronic fatigue and being able to sit upright. You guys only ever see me on my good days, and to be honest, a good day only happens every 2 to 3 weeks or so, hence why you don't get a lot more content anymore. But if you've stuck with me through all that time, you have my absolute heartfelt thanks and gratitude and love, because it means so much to me, you know? Right, enough emotions. I am British after all. I hope you'll be here for the next one, but if not, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please do like the video. It just helps me out and it makes me feel a little bit better. Have a lovely evening or day or morning. Bye.